朋友们好，今天咱们聊个有意思的行业——宠物食品行业。虽然这个行业时间不长，但是发展的特别快。最近遇到了第一个大挑战。今天请来在这个行业干了40多年的前辈，听听他怎么说。Today, I'm excited to chat with someone incredible. He worked in the pet food industry longer than I've been alive. With his smart ideas and global experience, he helped companies worldwide grow into some of the biggest pet food brands. Hello, Marcel, and welcome to the talk.
Thank you, Kriel. And it is a pleasure, at least I hope, to talk with you.
Marcel, happy to have you. I think it's possible to say that you are one of the founders of global pet food industry, as you were leading Eukanuba business in the early beginning. What key lessons from launching Eukanuba in Europe still apply to modern pet food business? And perhaps the second question is, what strategies have become obsolete due to the digital world we live in and sustainability demands?
Let me first of all say that when I launched, my team and I launched Eukanuba in Europe, the average price per kilo of Eukanuba for the consumer was roughly 2.5 times of what was normal in the European market for dry pet food, particularly dog food. So that was a perfect reason to compare. One of the strategies was to emphasize performance and say, if you do this, you will see results in, we said 6 weeks, it could have been 8 weeks, but it was the emphasis on performance to justify, let's say, a price setting that people simply were not accustomed to. That was one thing. The other thing was that because we had not necessarily a price hurdle, but something to explain by saying something like, do you think it is justified, or would you spend, let's say, for having the best care of your animal for the price of only 1 cup of coffee? Bring it back to something that people can understand. We were talking about what is our promise, and our promise was a performance with, if you do this, you will see the results in 6 or 7 or 8 weeks, whatever, but at least performance related. That was the key of our communication. Still, a lot of times is that branding is about what we as manufacturers want to say. Proper branding should be about what our consumers, our final decision makers, I always say these are the people who pay our salary, want to hear. And
Well said,
sometimes
Marcel.
there
Yeah,
is a difference between these two.
definitely. Yeah, thanks. So performance number one, and
Yes,
you did a fantastic job with branding too, because I think before Eukanuba, there was no really brands.
our objective was from day one, uh, certainly in Europe, to build a brand that was recognized Europe-wide,
Yeah,
recognized as what I called, and still call, by the way, the psychological leader.
I totally agree because still, when you talk to people in the market, they still benchmark Eukanuba somehow.
One of the points you raised, Kirill, was has it changed through digitalization? Yes, there are some changes, but these are changes in execution, not in concept. Would you agree?
Correct. I 100% agree with you. And I would like to ask you the following question because the market is so crowded, as you mentioned. Um, how can brands really stand out beyond this so-called premiumization or sustainability claim, which is very overused word?
Kirill, first of all, we must recognize, and I will say that again at a conference in September, I believe, we must recognize that we as an industry have maneuvered ourselves in a position of total unclarity. Premiumization is a word that is difficult to pronounce, and it used to be called upgrading. Nothing more and nothing less. If everybody follows that strategy, and that is what is happening today, yeah, nobody stands out.
Nobody stands out.
And the only way to premiumize, at least the ways that have been used so far, is to find something on the ingredient side. Most of these ingredients are used to make a difference, to emphasize a point of difference. But these differences become more and more marginal.
Yeah.
And that is why I've said, as an industry, we have maneuvered ourselves in a position that becomes less and less clear for the end decision maker, the consumer. Yes. The shelf life of difference becomes shorter and shorter. Yes. And the only way to get out of it, in my point of view, is not to be different, but to be special.
When I was doing my own project, which was related to the homemade food, I participated in several pet shows, and I talked to many people. Most of them were actually very young, first-time pet owners, and I was impressed by how many people already cooking for the pet. They know very well that there is a diet for the puppy or cat, whatever they have. But they said, no, we actually home cooking because we believe this is the best. And
yes,
this is not innovation because this is like 20,000 years of, people cook for themselves.
Okay, home cooking is one thing, and I totally agree. The basis for the pet food industry is to offer an alternative for home cooking. So I do see opportunities for people who sort of let's say imitate, if you want, home cooking and have a logistic setup to keep it fresh, etc., etc., and it is not just cooked or prepared for a dog. No, it is cooked and prepared for my dog. Yeah, so all these things to essentially, and we see that in human food as well, to make things more personal.
Correct.
Yes, less average, more personal. These are things that I see in actually in quite a number of markets or regions, if you want. Yes, these are, let's say, not just attempts. These are small inroads into what I call the conventional pet food industry.
Marcel, as you know better than anybody, the human factor in especially pet industry is very unique. So my question, how do you help your clients to future-proof the teams that they have or they're going to hire?
Talented people, if you want, yeah, are the biggest asset of any company, and it is the biggest asset that is not shown on the balance sheet. But we must recognize that talent is, first of all, it's scarce, and it is an enormous asset for any company to have talent. Yes, that is number one. If you want to have talent, make sure that the environment in which the talent needs to work, and whether that is hybrid or 100% in the office or whatever, doesn't matter very much. It's about the culture of your company. Sometimes what you do see is that people say, yes, but this profile is is going to be very expensive. We will find a way to educate somebody into the job. At that very moment, my question is, do you honestly believe that you have that much time? Because the opportunity is there today, and it's not going to wait for
It gives me hope because I think there's outside so many smart people, much smarter than before, and on the other hand, there is so many tools that really can make an impact. AI, lab-grown protein,
Yes.
nutrition is hyper personalized, and I just wonder what's your points on this. What will redefine? Maybe not one thing.
I see opportunities in less processing, let's say modestly processed compared to what is now being done, ultra processed. That is number one. Obviously, it is to an extent already happening. Let's tell our consumers, our final decision makers, what we do, not only what we do, but what is in this can or bloody bag of dog or cat food. You now see labels that are so intriguing and unclear, yes, that people do not know what they're buying. There is no law, no reason why, under one and the same brand, yeah, an adult, I say dog food, yeah, needs to be the same in Malaysia, in Chile, and in Belgium. Because it's not about the ingredients, it's the promise. And let's see if, based on ingredients in Malaysia, we can fulfill that promise. And based on the totally different ingredients in Chile, we can fulfill that promise. That is, for me, the story about the future of pet food.
I wish more global corporations and local brands listen to you. If they look for wise pet food consulting advice, how people can contact you, Marcel?
I'm certainly on LinkedIn, and that is probably the best entrance. One thing, Kirill, and that is, if we continue as an industry, and sorry, I'm talking about the call it the saturated markets, yes. But if we continue as an industry as we behave today, we will end up as the toilet paper industry, and that is 70% private labels, yes, zero innovation, and a total dependence upon let's say, the goodwill that we will have at a retail level, and the consumer actually, and this is an appropriate remark, but you can cut it where you want. Actually, people don't give a shit about it.
Totally true. Right. It's just a paper, right? Marcel, I enjoyed every second of today's talk. Thank you so much for sharing your ideas.
You're quite welcome, and it certainly was a pleasure to talk about what has been, let's say, certainly most of my professional life, and I will continue to be interested in the industry because, and that is what I say to my friends, it is fun.